You spend time with your family?
Sure I do.
Good. Because a man who doesn't spend time with his family can never be a real man.
In the famous words of The Godfather, a man who doesn't spend time with his family can never be a real man. Yet, in practice, fathers spend less time at home with newborn children than mothers. Across most countries, mothers take majority of parental leave, while fathers continue working.
So, Trey, are you going to take paternity leave when the baby comes?
Paternity leave?
I mean, are you going to stay home and take care of your baby?
Daddy, can you imagine if you stayed home to take care of? I can. I really can. I mean, besides this whole paternity thing, it's not real. I mean, there's nothing a man can do to help a woman with a baby.
Even in countries where parental leave is available to both parents, fathers often take very little of it. This chart shows the proportion of employed parents with a child under 1 year old who take maternity leave or parental leave in Canada. As we can see, a large majority of mothers take leave after the birth of a child, often around 70 to 80%. This persistent gap really highlights a central question in family economics, and that is, why do fathers take so little parental leave, even when policies make it available? This is the question that is explored in the paper Reserving Time for Daddy, the consequences of fathers' quotas, where the author examines what happened when Quebec introduced a policy reserving part of the parental leave exclusively for fathers. In particular, this paper focuses on a term called the daddy quota, which essentially encourages fathers to participate more in childcare. This question is important within the field of family economics, which studies how households divide work between the labor market and the home. Economists have observed that women do tend to perform more childcare and housework, while the men do tend to specialize in paid employment. One explanation for this pattern comes from economist Gary Becker, who argues that households may actually specialize according to comparative advantage. So if one partner earns higher wages in the labor market, then it essentially appears more efficient for that partner to focus on paid work, while the other focuses on childcare. This leads to the central question of the paper, and that is, can policies that reserve parental leave for fathers actually reduce the traditional division of labor within the households? So now we can come back to the Quebec parental insurance plan. And because this policy was introduced at a specific point in time, it actually allowed the researchers to compare families who had just had children just before the reform with families who had children just after that reform. Now, this figure here shows us what happened when the policy was actually introduced in 2006. And what we can see here is that the vertical line marks the policy cutoff. And on the left side, the fathers whose children were born before the reform. And on the right side, the fathers whose children were born after. And in Quebec, we really do see a clear jump in fathers taking parental leave immediately after the policy begins. But in other provinces where the policy did not change, fathers' behaviors kind of remain largely the same. And this really suggests that the daddy quota policy caused fathers to take more parental leave. It also raises the question as to, if fathers were allowed to take parental leave before the reform, why weren't more of them doing so? Well, I think part of the explanation may actually lie in sort of the long-standing social norms around gender roles within the household. And of course, traditionally, childcare and households have really just been viewed as responsibilities primarily associated with mothers, and fathers are usually expected to focus on paid work. Men have traditionally set up these systems themselves where they set up their own downfall, and they may feel a social stigma around stepping into roles that have historically been associated with domestic labor. And it's really thanks to policies like the ones in Quebec that allow for challenging of these norms by making fathers' involvement in early childcare not only possible, but also an expectation.
You spend time with your family?
Sure I do.
Good. Because a man who doesn't spend time with his family can never be a real man.